Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything. This is James, and continuing today with drawing every country in the world's flag. And I got a lot of requests for this one. We're going to be going into the Middle East, and we're going to be doing the country of Syria. Alright, so I know we like to have a lot of fun on this channel, joke around about stuff, but we'll do a little bit of a somber take on things today, because obviously something pretty big just happened in there yesterday. And whenever stuff like this happens, I'm always, I have alarm bells that go off right when I hear certain things from certain people, like on the news, kind of wondering, how true a lot of this stuff is. And I'll be the first to say, I have no issue whatsoever with saying I don't know. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I'll give you my opinions, and so this country, I think I'll be pretty good as far as getting your history here, as far as what did happen. Current events, though, we need to kind of wait and see what plays out. Right. So I will say that for one. This country, obviously in that part of the world that has history going back thousands and thousands of years. But I would like to focus on the 20th century forward, because that's basically when the modern state of Syria is formed. And this country, just being in that part of the world, it's the legacy. How do I want to put this? It's the legacy of a lot of different things that kind of created a lot of upheaval. So it's kind of a legacy of the Sykes-Picot Agreement post World War I, carving up all of these countries into unnatural kind of nation states. It's a legacy of the Cold War, and it's a legacy of the early 21st century war on terror. So some of that stuff has to do with this country, some of it doesn't, but yeah, let's get started. And again, I could already tell, there's going to be a lot of people that probably know a lot more about this than I do, in the comment section or whatever. So again, this actually kind of only proves my point, because I'm an American, right? And none of this concerns me. I wish nothing but the best, for these people there, especially the Christians, which are almost completely annihilated now. Used to be like 20% of the population. Now it's down to like 2 in a generation, which is catastrophic and is ethnic cleansing. But to the point I was making before, I'm an American, right? And I'll take a little a point of view from one of my country's heroes and some sound advice that nobody in the current state, except for a very select few, actually practice. They're all, my Constitution, when it suits them. But no, we don't get involved with the old world's affairs, right? So the Monroe Doctrine, that came after Washington. So I'm quoting Washington, as far as his farewell address. He said, we are good neighbors to all, right? We just have free and fair trade with all. We don't get involved in these other messes, right? And then with the Monroe Doctrine, there's 2 parts of that. Everybody knows the Monroe Doctrine when it applies to the Western Hemisphere, right? If Europe or anybody starts messing around with the Americas, right, and not just the United States of America, the continents, the Americas, we don't like that. So no, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome to bring that here. But there's a trade-off, and nobody ever talks about the other part. So the other part is we also don't get involved with what's going on in Russia, what's going on in the Middle East, France, Spain, whatever, right? So there's 2 parts of the Monroe Doctrine, but they always only quote the first part, right? But there's 2. So yeah, again, this is a little basic history lesson to catch you up to speed. So after World War I, right, the French, they kind of acquire a mandate over this northern part of the former Ottoman Empire, right? And then the Sykes-Picot Agreement is where a lot of these states get created. And if you look at the borders of Syria, It's not really something that happens when people are allowed freedom of association and freedom, self-determination, basically, right? So you don't get straight lines when stuff like that happens. So that's basically what happened after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in World War I. You carved up these countries into very unstable dynamics, right? Because these are just straight lines on a map, right? You're going to have a lot of people on the wrong side of things when things like that happen. And the French kind of administered that area until they gained independence in 1946. And that's a little bit of a complicated issue, too, because, France had a rogue pro-fascist government in World War II. They had the Vichy regime. So France kind of took the L a little bit harder than most of the countries that were on, like the Allied side. So they had to give this up to the British. And then, again, that kind of led into the independence of 1946, the post-war period. The country lacked political stability right from the start, no surprise there, and experienced a bunch of military coups. They unite with Egypt in 1958, okay, so they form a United Arab Republic, and then they separate in 1961. And then at this point, too, the State of Israel is formed. So there's a lot of issues with that government, causing trouble in this region as well. And, Egypt also was a socialist republic at this point in time, so you have a lot of Cold War influence there as well. And that kind of, that stuff kind of became contagious, right? So you had a lot of, like Arab socialist movements, Pan-Arabism kind of comes out of that. But again, communism, socialism, whatever, it doesn't mesh very well with the Islamic world because you need to have religion in that part of the world, and socialism, religion, it's that doesn't mix. So in 1967, there's a big Arab-Israeli war, a big crisis there. Syria loses some of their land. They lose the Golan Heights to Israel, and then they've been on and off ever since, right? Syria and Israel, and then so in 1970, that's when Assad kind of takes over Syria, right? Not the current Assad. This is Hafiz al-Assad, his son, but I forget his name. What is it? Bashir al-Assad. So they have pretty much been, like one-party rule of the Syrian state ever since the 70s, right? So of course, that means you're going to hear international community condemnations of authoritarianism. And on my channel, right, we're adults here. I don't clutch my pearls when I hear the word authoritarianism, right? You can have good authority or you can have bad authority. So just saying that something is an authoritarian government, you're going to need to show your homework a little bit more to get that crap past me. And again, that's a nasty part of the world. Again, just due to kind of the legacy of what happened in World War I, the Cold War, all these alliances going up and down and back and forth. You need a strong hand, right? You need a strong hand to keep the lights on, to keep things running. And also, with how Israel behaves on the world stage, they do create an awful lot of immigration crises, right? So what's happening right now in Syria has happened before. And if this is a little bit before my time, but Lebanon, this is almost the exact same thing that happened with Lebanon. They didn't want Islamic terror in their country, and they were basically destroyed. That was a completely functioning country, right? Beautiful, beautiful people there, beautiful country, a lot of Christians, and, even economically, right? This was not a backwater. This was like a banking center of the world, and they were basically targeted for destruction in the 70s, and their state hasn't functioned ever since, and now it's Syria's turn, right? So they're going through a lot of the problems. And if you want a problem from the other side, too, if you're maybe a little bit older, you remember Iraq, right? Is Iraq a country where I would want to live? Is that my kind of deal? No, not really, but it was a stable, functioning state before we took Saddam out, and now it's just complete chaos, right? And a lot of that chaos flows into these other countries. All right, so the Socialist Ba'ath Party, right? And this is kind of tying into Iraq. And there's a lot of these countries too. You have a minority that's in power, and the population is like a majority of the other side of things, and that causes problems. Bashir al-Assad he became president by a referendum in 2000. And, they've also had, Syria had troops in Lebanon, since the late 70s. And there's some issues there as well. You have a lot of new terrorist cells like ISIS, Hezbollah, like forming during this time. And, it's one of these countries where they're surrounded by, even if like you look at things through like a comic book movie, like how they give you foreign policy on the news today, this isn't just like good guys and bad guys, right? It's not a Marvel movie, right? A lot of these countries, just because they're all Muslim or something, doesn't mean that they're all terrorists or they all like get along with each other and hate the Western world. No, it's way more complicated than that. Again, going back to George Washington, we don't know everything about this. It's not our land. We should stay out, right? We shouldn't be, forcing regime changes and all this stuff there. So he gets reelected, Bashar al-Assad, in 2007. And the Arab Spring, of course, happens in 2011, which is, in my opinion, completely inorganic, right? So you have all these popular democracy protests and stuff that just go to further destabilize the countries and trying to unnaturally create more regime change. And so there's, again, it's not just the Muslims, they hate us for our freedom kind of stuff, right? There's a lot of different things going on there with a lot of different groups, a lot of Muslims that don't like each other, a lot of Jews and Christians that don't like each other, and they're all kind of forced to rule their governments based on how the outside world wants them to rule them, right? So that's how you end up with a strong hand like an Assad. And there's a lot of, when they say, oh, well, these are wars of religion, that's kind of BS too, because these are, this is also kind of the oldest story in the book as well. You have a lot of pipeline politics that go through this region, right? So, for example, right now, Turkey, they want to get pipelines going, and it's easier to get them through Syria than other parts of the world. So to get cheap energy, not to the United States, but to Israel, to other places in the world, and we can't do that with Russia, right? Because they're on the bad guy list. You kind of force Syria into Russia's hands, right? Because Russia also doesn't want Islamic terror, on their border. So of course, if you're working with Russia, that's going to put you on public enemy #1 list here. So yeah, Arab Spring, and I'm going through this as fast as I can, guys. This is a pretty simple flag, so the history lesson is going to take a lot longer than the actual drawings and the doings here. So yeah, violent unrest spread across Syria. So yeah, the government starts cracking down, right? You don't want people killing each other in the streets because of democracy. It's not, oh my God, he's authoritarian. It's like, no, we want a functioning state. So Turkey and Syria, not exactly buddies right now, because Turkey, again, watch my Turkey episode, they kind of play both masters, right? Because they're part of the Arab world, but then for some reason, they're also part of NATO, right? So they're going to have a lot of, they're going to be topsy-turvy on a lot of their politics. This leads to pretty much a full-blown civil war in Syria. 2015, that's when Russia launches a military intervention on behalf of Assad to try to stabilize things. And it's been, kind of on and off. The Turks have been, supplying firepower to, kind of the anti-Assad regime. Then Turkey, they also have a problem with Kurds, in their part of the country. And then, they kind of want to put them into Syria and form a separate Kurdistan, right? So just carving up this country even more and probably creating more problems. So yeah, Turkey's, they've pretty much conducted like 3 full-scale military ops, to basically capture Syrian territory. And, I'm not saying Syria's not to blame either. I'm sure Turkey doesn't want all this instability right on their borders. So, yeah, it's been a tragedy, right? Just something that didn't need to happen, right? I'm not like a pearl-clutching hippie when it comes to war. Yes, I am anti-war, but I believe, war happens, right? It's just human nature, but it's usually always the worst option, right? When you have the option for diplomacy and things like that. And again, that's where the United States comes in, and they just throw a match right into a pool of gasoline almost every time with this place. And that, in this place, I mean the larger Middle East in general, right? So you've had about 306,000 people that have died during this civil war, and approximately almost 7 million Syrians have been displaced, right? And it's a country that's, in severe need of humanitarian crisis or aid. due to the crisis, and due to this as well, because I have no issues with like you having opinions on things or whatever, right, that are not not of your own country. But I saw on the news the other day, right, so there was a massive celebration of Assad's regime falling, right, because this just happened yesterday. And where was this happening? Damascus? No, Germany, right? So crisis like this, they always displace all these people. They end up in Europe, and that's a lot of that is by design by these international community people that just want everyone else to be a melting pot except for their own states and their own nations. So yeah, there's a lot of Syrians, and I don't think you should have Syrian pro or anti demonstrations in the state of Germany. That's utter nonsense. You should be in Syria doing that. So yeah, but that's just kind of how it works now, right? We destroy these places, and the mess goes into other places that have nothing to do with this place either, and then that just causes more problems. So yeah, again, I guess Bashar al-Assad, he fled the country yesterday, and I will fully admit, I don't know if that's true or not, right? They say he might be in Moscow, he might not be, I don't know. Take everything with a grain of salt going forward, right? But all you can do, hope for an end to the conflict, hope for a lot of this too just seems like the Biden administration having a poo-poo face that they were trounced in the election, and they want to create a mess on the way out, because this conflict did die down a little bit over the last few years, and just reigniting it for just no other reason than to give Trump a mess to clean up is ridiculous, and a lot of people are going to die because of it, because somebody got boo-boo face. But again, that's my opinion on it. So that's the country of Syria, James. What is the flag about, right? So it looks a little familiar, right? These colors, a lot of Islamic flags kind of have that, or Arab flags, I mean. Getting confused there. Again, I get confused when talking about this stuff because it's not my heritage, not my people. So we shouldn't have too strong opinions on what goes on, and we certainly shouldn't be getting involved, as my ignorance demonstrates. So the red represents the bloody struggle, right, for independence. We all know what the red means. The white is a bright future, right, and that's kind of the United Arab Republic's colors. And then the two stars represent the states of Syria and Egypt, and that came out in this flag was developed in 1980. And the black represents oppression to be overcome, right? So you got a lot of strong opinions in this flag, right? Overcoming oppression, the blood, but yeah, that's Syria. So again, I don't know everything, right? I hope I teach you at least a little something, and let me know what you think. Even if it's bad, even if you want to call me an idiot and say I don't know what I'm talking about, I welcome those comments too. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next episode.